Chapter 6, Sticky Notes. So this chapter is kind of a short chapter. There's not a whole lot you need to know in this chapter, but a few things about economics and policies in response to the environment. The case study is a really interesting one about Costa Rica. Costa Rica found out that its forests were being cut down and destroyed, and so it created a policy to pay private landholders to conserve forests. It paid for this program through special taxes for fossil fuels, and it helped spur the ecotourism industry as well. So Costa Rica recognized that forests provide very important ecosystem services, and you can see these here, and you do need to memorize all 4 of these ecosystem services. Really important, and we'll discuss them in further chapters, and these are the types of ecosystem services from forests that are often seen on the AP test. Okay, go on to page 138. So on 138, you need to know who John Muir is. You need to know he's a preservationist, and there's a picture of him with Teddy Roosevelt. And a preservationist is somebody that wants to preserve and not touch nature. He was the founder of the Sierra Club, and there was a famous meeting between him and Teddy Roosevelt in Yosemite National Park in 1903. And Teddy Roosevelt was so persuaded by John Muir that he went home and had Congress make 5 new national parks. You also need to know who Emerson, Whitman, and Thoreau are. They're just transcendentalist authors. You just need to know that they're authors that wrote about nature. Not a whole lot about them. You also need to know who Gifford Pinchot is, and there's a picture of him here. So he is a conservationist, and he was a proponent of using resources without depleting them. So he founded the U.S. Forest Service, and in the U.S. Forest Service, in national forests, not national parks, but national forests, you can cut down trees, but you have to replant them. So essentially the forests won't disappear, but they will be replanted and come back to be chopped down again. So Gifford Pinchot and John Muir actually didn't like each other very much because their philosophies were different from each other. The next person that you need to know here, there's a picture of him, was Aldo Leopold. He's a famous author that wrote a couple of books, the Land Ethic Essay, actually, and then a Sand County Almanac. So Sand County Almanac was the book, and then the essay was the Land Ethic. And he was an environmental ethicist that really was a proponent that humans and nature are interconnected. And this goes back to the idea of ecosystem services providing us things that we absolutely have to survive as humans. Going on to page 140, here is the definition of environmental justice. Environmental justice is the fair treatment of all people with environmental laws and policies. So the poor and minorities traditionally, not just in our country, but in all countries, are exposed to a greater share of pollution and hazards and poisonings. This happens everywhere. It's the poor parts of town that get the pollution from the docks, that get in Los Angeles, it's the battery recycling center that has lead in all of those neighborhoods. And the examples in your book are the Navajos with uranium mines, and in Louisiana, African Americans get exposed to the toxins from vinyl factories. And so these are some really big issues that go on not just in the US, but also around the world. On this page, know these terms about the different types of economies. Subsistence economy, capitalist, centrally planned, and mixed. We actually are not completely capitalist. We have a mixed economy. Things like public schools and libraries and Social Security are all part of a centrally planned economy. Those are socialist ideas, but we also mix it with capitalist ideas as well, and so we technically have a mixed economy. Going on to page 146, know the definition of external costs, and these are some examples here of external costs. So I think I'm going to actually add this and examples. All right, let's go on to the next page. Let's keep turning pages. Like I said, there's not a whole lot in this chapter to know. And here we are on page 151. The figure in caption talks about non-market values. These are things that are important, but are not necessarily things that earn us money. And so know a few examples of just the fact that we can go to nature and be awed by it. Species to exist, cultural and scientific research and educational. Those are all important things in our society that don't actually give us money. Okay, 153. Know the figure in caption and the difference between gross domestic product and GPI, which is the genuine progress indicator. So the genuine progress indicator is something that we use, well, environmental scientists use, and social scientists use, and a lot of intellectuals use, and researchers, and because really it's a more accurate picture of what our economy is like. And GDP is something that's mostly reported, but it's inaccurate. The governments use this because it makes us look like we're more economically strong, but in fact we're not as economically strong because we have to pay all of these things as a result of economic growth. And so really this is a more accurate picture of our economies, but governments don't like to use it because this one looks better. All right, so make sure you know what the difference is between those two and why in our subject we consider this one a more accurate indication of the environment. I'm sorry, indication of the economy. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it for chapter 6.